ever get that feeling like you're just slipping a little bit? You know, like your cognitive awareness is just not all that it should be. A little blurry-eyed. Got that little brain fog thing going on. Man, I get that a lot lately, it seems like. Tell you, lack of sleep does you no good whatsoever. But I think there's a lot of things right now that are just bombarding our brains, right? All the man, all the Wi-Fi, the 5G, the chemicals in the food, in the air, the water. It's just like this cocktail of confusion, I guess. It's a crafty way to put it. Reminds me a bit of the Scarlet Harlot in Revelation, who's drunk on the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And it's also described as the blood of the saints in that little chalice that she holds. But she makes all the world drunk off that same wine, that fermenting wine. As I understand it, which represents her false teachings, right? Confusing the world as to our true purpose in this world, in this life, and also, basically the originator of the character assassination campaign on Christ, right, and the God of the Bible. Smearing and marring God's character, misrepresenting who God is to the world. And it's not just the city on 7 hills over there in Rome. It's also her daughters, right? She's the mother of harlots. And a harlot, if you compare scripture with scripture, that the prophets would call the Israelites a harlot, for playing the harlot, because they would not be faithful to God, and they would misrepresent God's character to the surrounding nations, all while professing to be His chosen people, right? So the mother has harlots, and there's a lot of false teachings and a lot of false teachers out there, a lot of denominations of Christianity that take after their mother in promoting lies and standing up there with their prosperity gospel. There's send your money to the church and you'll be good with God type of message. The message in the 3 angels' messages, I got it somewhere, let me look. Just writing it down for this occasion. You can look this up yourself if you don't believe me, okay? Try not to get in an accident while looking for something. Good idea. Okay. The 3 angels' message is the final warning to this planet, and it's encapsulated within Revelations 14, 6 through 11. And the message goes something like, Babylon is fallen. That great city, and we've talked about this in the past, that the Vatican is not only a apostate fallen church that claims to be the one true church, right? That holds the power, the keys of heaven and hell, sits on the very throne of Saint Peter, they say, who they say was the first pope, according to their teachings. And so the world is drunken with all these misconceptions, with all these lies. distorting. You know, she's also described the whore of Babylon. It's in Revelations 18 as the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right? A bird can represent spirit or demons, devils, right? So it's a cage filled with devils and demons, right? And it's a cage because it keeps people mentally enslaved to a false works-based religion that doesn't rely on the righteousness of Christ, doesn't look forward to being dressed, being clothed in the robes of Christ's righteousness. No, it tells its adherents that they alone, through their own works, through their own donations, right? Of course, like St. Peter's Basilica, you know, the largest Christian church, was built on indulgences, right? The forgiveness of sins by donating your money to the church. I mean, if anything would have made Jesus really upset, right? And it did. If you read the Bible, the first time he really shows his rage is when he's overturning the money changers' tables in the temple, right? And he says that my house will not be a house of merchandise. You know, the temple, the church, is for spiritual affairs. It's not for worldly gain, right? Don't tell that to the papacy. Apparently, if you look at their track record, you know, as much as Pope Francis preaches about helping the poor, redistribution of wealth and all that, well, you know, how many billions in holy relics and real estate is the Vatican sitting on right now? The longest, the oldest institution on earth. It has been hoarding wealth for centuries, right? The Holy See goes back to like 333 AD. The longest lasting man-made institution on earth. And, you know, who knows what kind of treasures are buried in the Vatican archives, right? And why the secrecy, right? Why do you have to keep everything locked up underneath the Vatican? Why don't you just share with the world all of your knowledge? Because that system learned early on that knowledge is power. Information is power, right? And one reason they maintained their power structure throughout that 1,000+ years, you know, throughout Dark Age Europe, was by controlling information and making all forms of information, you know, whether it printed, you know, whether it's anything, poetry, music, all had to be approved through the church, of course, right? Talk about the people are complaining these days about the fact checkers. Yeah, try living through the medieval Europe and see how much information you can spread, how viral your content can go if it's not first approved by the church. It'll be pretty short-lived, and so will you also, unfortunately. And of course, all these other sciences were suppressed during those periods. And then why do you think that you know, the average lifespan was around, you know, 25 years old? You know, the worst period in Western civilization, in arguably in mankind's history, was when the Roman Church was in power, and the church and state were married, and the church dictated, you know, over every aspect of human life. And now we still have people in government claim to be constitutional conservatives, Christians, right? Who are arguing for the abolishment, basically, or the redefining of the First Amendment, so that they too can get church back in bed with the state. Does that sound like a good idea to you? If you know anything about history, if you know anything about the history of Christendom in particular, yeah, no. There's a lot of people in power today, a lot of people on social media, these talking heads, these influencers, who would more than love to implement a brand or a type of Sharia law in this country. You know, if you just redefined it, if you just renamed it Christian law, right? Let's get back to God, right? And these are all, you know, you can say on the surface they're pretty good arguments, right? Because we see all this evil rising all around us. And, you know, I don't watch much TV, but the other night we were watching, I think it's is it The Voice? I think it's The Voice. And I don't think it's American Idol. I think it's The Voice. You know, we got some people in the family who are into singing and all that, so we just sitting back doing some, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes you just gotta, if you don't have a beer to sip on, you know, you just gotta sip on some, I guess, a little diluted wine of Babylon on the Babel box. But this girl got up there and sang, and one of the judges, you know, just made the statement that, you know, the thing I love about you the most is that you're not afraid to share your faith. Well, have we arrived at a point in this country, and I think the answer is yes, where Christians in particular should be afraid to share their faith to the world? Of course, right? That's the one religion that's continually being painted in the light of, you know, it's bigoted, it's small-minded, you know, we're a bunch of cavemen. The same religion, by the way, that afforded all of our freedoms to bitch and moan in this modern day without, you know, fear of arrest and imprisonment and capital punishment, right? Like, that's what I love, you know, having these conversations with these atheists that want nothing to do with Christianity or God. And they'll sit up there on their social media platforms all day long on Twitter, other places, mostly Twitter. And, you know, they'll just go on these tirades, you know, about the evils of religion and Christianity. And they just completely, you know, giving absolutely no credit to all of those Christians, Protestants in particular, that fought and died for those privileges that they so frivolously extol, abuse, I guess, to this day. Freedom of speech, separation of church and state. Those are Protestant concepts. And if it wasn't for the Protestants, I think there's a pretty good argument that the world would have never seen the type of climate, the type of tolerance that would allow an atheist, say, to sit there and mock and ridicule God and Christians and Christianity. Yeah, if not for those Bible-inspired principles. Because the norm throughout human history has always been tyranny and oppression. And you don't have any rights. You're not part of the nobility, right? You're just a peasant. And if you want to question your leadership, you know, in any other time in human history, vocally proclaim you don't like this leader or that leader, well, you're going to probably end up on a noose or a guillotine, right? If you're really unlucky, you know, some kind of torture chamber till you recant your heresy. Anyway, just some things I think about. I'm here in town. I got to get my emissions done. We'll check back in a little bit. Alright, so I'm here getting emissions done on my truck. Yeah, it's one of those little things we have to do nowadays. If you're in an area where you don't have emissions, you are considered a blessing, right? It's such a scam. It's like, what is it, like every 2 years for a diesel? I think it's like 75. It's probably more now. It's probably more like 80. Who knows? $100 just for the emissions. And then you gotta, of course, you know, buy your little laden with gold plating stickers to stick on your license plates. But yeah, in other news, just got a few notes here. I thought I'd just chill because it's gonna be like half an hour. I gotta sit here and wait. It's kind of a nice area though, somewhat peaceful. Besides all the power tool sounds. In other news, the Pope says the Vatican is in secret. Just a sec. Just a minor interruption there. The Pope says the Vatican is in secret Ukraine peace mission. And he says in one other part of the article I read that he will release it to the public when it's public, basically. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Him being, as he claims, the representative of Christ on earth. When Christ said literally here, quoting John 18:20, I spoke openly to the world. In secret I've said nothing. That's why all the cloak and dagger, Mr. Jesuit Pope. Yeah, I wrote this down in Daniel 8:25, describing the Antichrist power. It says, he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. So, we got this picture of the end times, right? When, like in Matthew 24:6, there's wars and rumors of wars, right? And men's hearts failing them for fear of those things that are coming on the earth, in Luke 21:26. And so you can kind of see how, they've created this fear climate right now. We have the Pope, we have Biden, even Trump and other world leaders coming out warning the world that we're going into World War III right now, right? And I think there was just in the listening to the radio the other night, Clyde Lewis popped up in one of these little news briefings. Another balloon, I think, was flying over Hawaii or something this time. Another balloon was spotted, right? So there's all this talk of nuclear Armageddon, end of the world, right? And so they're going to use this fear climate, like we've never seen before, right? Men's hearts failing them just out of fear of the the fearful sights that are unfolding on this earth. And I think the Satan's little minions in positions of power right now understand that on some level, by fulfilling this apocalyptic vision, they will be able to exploit and use that fear climate in order to finally attain their Fourth Reich, right? Their world government. Because people will be so desperate for peace, yet there will be no peace. That'll be the rally cry, right? To all the horrors of war we've seen unfold on this planet just within the last 100 years, right? World War I, World War II, Vietnam, all the rest. War is good for nothing, right? What is war good for? But at the same time, they will use the threat, the fear of another war in order to implement their new world order. That's from my understanding of Bible prophecy. But at the same time, we have Desantis, the sanctimonious, I think Trump calls him. He's passing this House Bill 269 in Florida. Well, he actually wrote the bill, or signed the bill, while he was visiting in Israel. I thought that was kind of ironic. But hopefully this guy could park. Yep. Yes, busy place, man. He signs this bill in Israel, a foreign nation, for his own state of Florida, to protect, of course, right, the Jews. Kind of buttering up maybe the Israeli lobby, you think, trying to look presidential, trying to get all those little duckies in order. But
it's on the face. It's unconstitutional. You can't be like Desantis claims. You can't be a constitutional conservative while pushing hate speech laws, right? Whereas, quote, in order to, this law was banning distribution of any material on public property. Quote, in order to intimidate or threaten people or harassing people wearing anything identifying religious or ethnic heritage, etc. And I just think of this on prophetic terms, you know, being a student of Bible prophecy as I am. Again, in Revelations 14, 6 through 11, it's the three angels' message, which, as I understand it, it's the final message, warning message to the world before the second coming and the judgment, right? And God's people are to fulfill, to go out into the world and spread that message of warning. And, you know, it goes a little something like this in, quote, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, or false teachings. So in my opinion, I mean, this is just another, should be anyway, a nail in DeSantis' coffin in his little short-lived run for president, because, I mean, not only is he anti-First Amendment, I guess, at this point, you know, he was also a lawyer in Gitmo, right? And long after that whole war on terror winded down, he was arguing from his professional, you know, capacity as a you know, as a person in authority. He was arguing that those detainees remain detained against habeas corpus, right? Some of those people are still in there, right? Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Got all these cars blocking the way now. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up real quick and tie it up in another clip on the way home. Keep watching. More to come. All right, just waiting for this guy to move his truck so I can hook up my trailer again. Anyway, pass with flying colors, right? A real sense of accomplishment there. You can kind of see how some of these measures are going to be used to kind of weed out all the problem children in the auto market, you know, as they continue to tighten this noose, right? And we're all led like sheep into these EVs that are completely controlled, you know, little spy mobiles, basically. There was recently the kids that were caught here in Colorado, were killed a young girl, like I think she was only like 20, just being stupid kids, throwing big rocks at incoming traffic, incoming cars out on these county roads. And yeah, one of the ways they caught them was one thing they were doing was asking all the Tesla owners to look over their footage, right? The ones who might have been in the area at the time when this crime occurred. And so I thought that was kind of revealing, interesting how all these Teslas are continually little spy cars driving around, recording everything. And I guess how they actually tracked it to these kids was their cell phone data, right? So, you know, don't think you can get away with a crime while you leave your cell phone running, you know, in this day and age, because they can easily do a little forensics and find out where you were at any point in time, any place on this planet, right? Kind of comically, right, when they can't even find Bin Laden, right, for so long. Kind of hysterical, actually. Anyway, I got to wrap things up, hit the road. Might do one last blurb on the way home. All right, signing out for now.
You know what diesel owners are so angry, right? It's all the money it takes to keep these things running.
not cheap. Not cheap, but they're a necessary evil, I guess, if you're hauling a lot of weight all the time like we are, hauling water up the mountain. Anyway, yeah, the issue, as I see it, we're soon to face in this country, if we're to believe Bible prophecy, right? Revelations 13:50, right? The world, all the world. All the world will be forced to receive this mark, to worship the image of the beast, right? And that beast, classically, historically, that received the wound yet did live, as it describes it in another chapter. That beast has been historically known as Papal Rome. And so, what does it mean for the Lamblike beast in Revelation? To force all the world to worship the image, the likeness of the first beast, Papal Rome, who reigned during the Dark Ages, who spilt more blood of the saints than any other institution in human history, right? And everybody's worried about the Muslims, right? Well, you know, how many of God's people did Papal Rome persecute just for simply trying to like distribute the Bible in a common tongue, something that everybody could understand, right? Something also that we Christians take all too much for granted, the easy access we have these days to the written word of God. The two witnesses in Revelation that were clothed in sackcloth, right? What a better description of the Dark Ages, right? When information was controlled, right? A lot of people don't understand how Orwell was inspired with his Big Brother narrative in his books, inspired directly by the papacy, right? Big Papa, Big Father, and the whole thought crime issue and the doublespeak even. You know, you can say that a lot of Christian concepts seem to be on the surface anyway, spiritual versus carnal. You know, they on first glance, superficially, appear to be doublespeak or doublethink, right? Through our weakness, we're made strong, stuff like that. But yeah, in particular, the oppression over the mind of man that was exhibited by this quasi-religious, quasi-political institution. The oldest globalist institution on earth, by the way. The Vatican, the Holy See. And how many, you know, little conspiracy gurus out there, you know, Russell Brand's, even Alex Jones's, how many of them ever tie the Vatican to Bible prophecy? Not too many. It's the big white elephant in the room and nobody's willing to talk about it, right? You know, they'll talk occasionally about the Pope, and a lot of people, you know, frame it these days like the Pope isn't Christian, the Pope isn't even Catholic. Well, yeah, he is actually. He's very much Catholic, and he's more Catholic than probably any other Pope prior. And he's probably done more than any other Pope prior. It seems like, man, how do these old guys get all this energy? It's just like they're animated by Satan's legions, basically. That's the way I look at it. You know, they have a supernatural energy within them to get all these things done. If you do an occasional search like I do now and then on the Pope and just all the places he's going, you know, now he's talking about going to Kiev to solve this war with Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, the world is looking for a moral authority right now. And as I see it, and I understand Bible prophecy, the Pope will fulfill that role. And the identity of Antichrist, at least the seat of Antichrist, right, has been understood for over 500 years since the Reformation. And all these great Protestant reformers
identified from the Bible, from the scripture, from prophecy. They identified who the great whore was, the city, right? The apostate church being a whore, a harlot. And also a city at the same time. The smallest sovereign nation on earth. Vatican City. Yeah, not too many people out there talking about this stuff, but I think it's essential that we know our enemy, that we know, God does not want us to be in the dark on these issues. And if we understand the beast, then we'll understand the beast mark. Just leave it with that. Leave you with that one for now. God bless everybody. Got to get some things at Home Depot. New screen, weather, what do they call it? Storm door. And some other, we're going to do some of our roof surfaces. We're going to do some gutters and some, so I need to buy some piping. I need to buy the gutters. And might buy another storage tank for water. We're gonna try everything we do, so maybe you won't see so many of these drive and talk type videos, and maybe you'll see some more professional podcasts from the Night Watch Mobile itself, right? Because I won't be having to go to get water so often. That's the idea. That's the hope anyway. Yeah, right now it's looking like it might rain. It might be raining up there already, and we could be capturing all that precious rainwater. Thankfully, it's legal in this state again, right? We tried to ban that at one point. Collection of rainwaters. Tried to ban it and make it illegal. How stupid is that? Hey, you give these little control freaks an inch, and they take miles, right? And that's the problem. We've just complied and complied and complied. And like I said, if you comply, compliance is suicide. Compliance is death. We got to stop complying with everything we're told to do, because if we follow that road, it only leads to more despotism, right? Welcome to the Great Reset. What are we resetting? Back to the Dark Ages, with a lot of the same characters in power, right? A lot of the same players, including the Vatican, which I believe is at the top of the pyramid, according to Bible prophecy. And the majority of the world is all forgotten, right? Who the identity of Antichrist is. Anyway, I'm almost there. God bless everybody. It's Not Watch Nate, signing out.